Researchers at the Picower Institute for Learning and Memory at MIT are redefining the practice of neuroscience through unique techniques and technologies. Janet Wu traveled to their institute in Boston to find out more about how they are better understanding brain functions and the science behind mental illness.
At the Picower Institute for Learning and Memory at MIT, researchers are driven by one common question: how does experience modify the brain in both health and disease?
Our mission is to understand how we can learn and how we can remember. And we believe that understanding these fundamental processes are going to provide new insight and new treatments for very complex brain disorders such as autism, depression, schizophrenia, addiction, and even neurodegenerative diseases.
Picower investigator Matt Wilson, an engineer by training, studies the pathways of memory processing and how they break down in mental disorders.
There are a couple of specific models that we're looking at. One in particular is schizophrenia, and that is trying to understand how communication between the hippocampus and other brain areas, both during wakefulness and during sleep, might contribute to cognitive deficits that are seen in schizophrenia.
Picower neuroscientist Earl Miller studies attention and decision-making in the prefrontal cortex, an area known to be affected by psychiatric disorders.
Our work is very relevant for ADHD. We study how you focus attention, how you keep on task, keep your eyes on the prize, keep focused on one task at a time and avoid distractions. Our work, we also do work related to autism.
By studying how the brain learns, researchers here are getting ever closer to understanding the mechanisms of mental illness. Researchers like Kay Tai are identifying the brain circuits that regulate emotional decision-making.
The biggest problem in mental health is that we don't understand the neural underpinnings of psychiatric disease. We don't even understand how the brain works naturally. So the first step to developing more effective therapeutics is understanding the fundamental basics, the properties that give rise to behaviors in health as well as disease.
One remarkable finding: the developed brain is able to adapt.
Okay, so now let's look at the data. And so what we're interested in is to try to figure out what the normal function is of synapses, how they can be plastic in the sense that they can constantly change on a need basis. And it turns out that many of the proteins that are kind of part of the essential synaptic machinery are proteins that have turned out to play a role in various neuropsychiatric and neurodegenerative disorders too.
Nobel laureate Susumu Tonegawa has been able to replace negative memories in the brains of mice with positive ones.
Depression is a very serious problem. It's widespread. Very large number of people suffer from this. Okay? So question is how to cure these patients. So people will use some chemicals, drugs to treat them, but many of them do not respond to it.
He found that when light was used to stimulate specific regions in the brains of mice, it reversed their depression.
We activate these positive memory engram cells with the light, with optogenetics, with the blue light, which will activate these engram holding cells. But in this case, particular kind of engram holding cell, that is the positive, happy memory engram cells. And we have shown that if you do that, then the mouse get rid of the depression features.
Other Picower research involving beneficial alteration of the brain is already reaching human trials.
But our work based on a mouse model of Rett syndrome, it's a genetic disorder. We were able to make a mouse that has the same genetic lesion. We discovered that the brain, that brain plasticity is affected. And based on our work on rewiring the brain, we have proposed a therapeutic that will repair this deficit in plasticity. And this is now in clinical trials for girls with Rett syndrome.
We do very fundamental research, but we know the knowledge we get from this very fundamental work will have huge impact on those people out there who suffer from those diseases.
It's hoped that the many scientific advances made here daily will lead to new therapies for millions of people suffering from illnesses of the mind. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, I'm Janet Wu.